us for this webinar where we talk about Sashakt and take you through it. Um, Sharing a bit about our work as Project Tech for Dev because before we dive into Sashakt. So we as Tech for Dev is a technology partner for the social sector. We build open source solutions for the ecosystem. Some of them you might have already heard or seen. They are Avni, which is a data collection tool, Glyphic, which is a WhatsApp chatbot creator, and Dalgo, which is a data platform which helps NGOs aggregate data, clean data, and also visualize data. We've been working with around 200 plus NGOs in India since the last 6 to 8 years. I am Ashna from Project Tech for Dev, and I'm joined by Ujjwal today, who is from Veddis Foundation, and my colleague Ninad, who is from Project Tech for Dev. Over the next 20-25 minutes, the agenda is that we will walk you through the assessment platform Sashakt that we've built and see if there's any overlap in the use case and if it turns out to be helpful for you. And we'd be happy to take any questions. You can put your questions in the chat. During the presentation, we will also break at certain times to ask if there are any questions and take them also. To begin with, we thought of starting with a very, very simple analogy, right? So, as a human, if we need to reach any goal, what are the elements that are important for us to be clear on, or what are the elements that we need to have in order to reach a goal, right? So, first of all, we need to have a path that we need to take, right? And then it's very, very important for us to know what exactly the goal is. If we don't know what exactly the destination is where we are trying to reach, it's very, very difficult, almost next to impossible for us to be able to reach there, right? So it's very important to have a path, to know the goal. Thirdly, it's also very, very important for us to know what is the role that I am playing in reaching that goal. For example, if I need to reach somewhere, I should know what are the kind of steps that I need to take, what are the tasks that I need to do in order to reach somewhere. Any guesses from the audience? If you need to reach a particular goal, what are the other things which would be really important in enabling you to reach there? You can raise your hand if you want to speak. Any guesses? I think there's no wrong answer here. There'll be a lot of answers.
Yeah, I think Adrija is saying milestones.
Yeah, milestones is one of them. Very, very rightly pointed out. Um, yeah, human resources. Yeah, human resources are also important. So you need people to reach a goal as well, right? So just continuing, like you said, resources, right? We need a lot of resources, not just one. So in this example, I've shown a vehicle, but as you rightly mentioned, there's not just vehicle. In different contexts, you'll need different kinds of resources. There will be sometimes you'll need training, sometimes you will need a team. A team actually you'll need every time to reach somewhere. So there are a lot of resources that you will need to reach that goal. Apart from that, even after this, you might also, even after having a team, having resources, you might take a wrong turn somewhere. You might end up in taking the wrong decision somewhere. So it's very important to have like a guiding mentor throughout the journey. That's the role that Google Maps plays for us, telling us where we need to take a left turn, where we need to take a right turn, so that we reach our goal in the shortest path, possible way. Even even after you have resources, you know where to go and you are guided. Probably there's one very, very important factor that's critical in taking any journey. That is human motivation, right? If you're not motivated enough, how do you keep going, right? So it's very, very important, as you rightly mentioned, to have those milestones, to have those checkpoints that keep telling you that oh, you've come this far and you're on the right track. Please keep going, and this is the amount of journey, or these are the number of steps you still need to take to reach your goal. So it's very important to have those milestones, those checkpoints, which tell you how far you've come and how far you need to go. It also subtly tells you that you're on the right path somewhere, right? Now, just taking this human psychology and analogy and applying it in the context of trainings and education, right? If we want to apply that, we need to have a path where we need to go. In this context, our teachers, our primary school teachers already know what their role is. right? What are the lectures, lesson plans that they need to teach their students? What is the context that they need to teach? What is a teacher's role in making students learn? That is very, very clear in our system. Next, it's very clearly defined what exactly the goal is. We have the grading system. We already know what a grade A is, what a distinction is, what a 50% plus means, what a 75% plus means. It's very, very crystal clear and quantified that this is the goal that we need to reach at. Apart from that, there are a lot of books that the teachers can use. There are a lot of trainings that you conduct on field, right? Even after all of this, there's one important critical factor that we spoke about in the previous example also, which is of human motivation, right? So how do you keep teachers motivated? How do you tell the teacher where the student has reached? And are they on the right track? How many learning outcomes they've achieved already? What is the grade that they are getting? And how do you keep improving what the students know, right? So that is why it's very, very important for us to test that learning level, so that the teacher knows what exactly is the learning level of her students in the classroom and where she needs to take them, so that she can plan out for that journey. She can plan out her lesson plans, his or her lesson plans accordingly. So having those learning lessons and those checkpoints becomes very, very critical to keep the teacher motivation high, student motivation high, and also parent motivation high in the entire ecosystem. Now comes the big question. If you want to check the learning level so frequently to share feedback in the entire ecosystem with the teachers, parents, and students, how do we assess the learning level so many times very, very quickly? Right? How do we do that? Right now, if you try to conduct an assessment, um, it is extremely time intensive. So you will first bring teachers together, right? And then teachers, you'll ask them to set up question papers, which will take them a lot of time and effort to set up those question papers. After that, you will get students to one place. Students will write the exams, and then teachers will have to go through each answer sheet one by one and mark them. Now, what happens in this process is it is not actually very, very accurate as well, because the difficulty level which a human would set a question paper on will vary from teacher to teacher. Even the marking will vary from teacher to teacher. So it's not very accurate to say or measure all students at one standard, right? So it's not very customized for students also. Lastly, it's very, very financially intensive. You will print papers, distribute question sheets, answer sheets. There's a lot of human resources time that goes into it, into setting question papers, checking answers, and all of this. So all of this makes measuring or taking these tests very, very difficult to do it again and again. So that's why we thought of building Sashakt, which is a customizable solution to conduct assessments at scale. Now, the features that we've kept in mind while building Sashakt is that it provides instant results. It's very, very easy to use. So we've worked on the designs quite a bit so that it's very easy for the user to understand. It's customizable to quite an extent. And it is also open source. Like all the different products that we build at Tech4Dev are open source, right? Uh, yeah. So with this, we thought of, so it is actually a collaborative effort between Project Tech for Dev, Avanti Fellows, and Veddis Foundation. So all three of us came together to develop this product, which we are calling Sashakt. Veddis works with the government and has rolled out Sashakt for us in the states of Haryana and Himachal Pradesh. They build technology and digital infrastructure for the social sector and work very closely with the government also. Tech4Dev is the technology partner. So we've built the product. So the engineering team is from Tech4Dev. And Avanti Fellows is an NGO that supports students from underserved backgrounds. They are the ones who've been with us throughout the journey, and they'll also be using Sashakt in some time. With this, just wanted to once bring up and reiterate who Sashakt is ideally for. So if you're working somewhere where you're conducting pre and post training assessments on field, it may be any sector. It may be health, it may be maternal child healthcare, it may be education. If you're conducting a lot of trainings and if you want to assess the pre and post training efficiency, that's when you can definitely use Sashakt. Or if you're conducting any different kind of assessments across the sector, I think we think Sashakt would be like a good option for you. It is not for if you're trying to collect data from users or if you're conducting any other kind of survey. It is not a data collection tool. I think if you're trying to collect data, there are already multiple products in the ecosystem that you can use. Sashakt is basically we've tried to keep it focused on assessments only. So that's a very, very brief overview about Sashakt. I would now invite Ujjwal, who is from Veddis Foundation, to speak about his experience in using Sashakt and actually deploying it in two states in Haryana and Himachal Pradesh.
Thank you. I am Ujjwal. I have been working with Veddis Foundation for the last 4 years. So, Veddis Foundation basically is a philanthropic organization which is also deeply invested in rural livelihood projects, and we have partnered with state of Haryana and Himachal Pradesh for the SRLM project. So, if I start discussing Sashakt, so let me first discuss about how we look at it. I mean, building efficiency in government budget spending. So India's social sector funding is projected to have reached $300 billion by 2024, which is about 8.3% of India's total budget. But can philanthropies match that scale? So the definite answer is no. So what is the best thing that philanthropies can do? It's actually building efficiency in the budget spending, government budget spending. And this is the core philosophy with which we have come up with product like Sashakt. We want to build efficiency in the government spending. Government spends a lot of amount in lots of budget in capacity building. A significant chunk of it goes into capacity building. NRLM is one such large-scale capacity building program where we are deeply engaged in. So while working with SRLMs, we realized that despite 40% of the training budget, 40% of the NRLM budget getting into capacity building, there was no method to planning, training, and capacity building. Trainings were planned on an ad hoc basis, randomly. There was no method for training needs assessment. And it was humanly impossible for a program like NRLM to, implement a pen and paper based assessment. So in that scenario, Sashakt was one tool which was very transformative to address all these challenges. So initially, when we discussed this with government was hesitant because they thought that there will be an additional layer of tasks that their already stretched staff would have to do. So to bring the barrier down, what we did was that we led the pilot of Shashank. So we started with few institutions and we tried to bring some outcomes. So what we saw was very encouraging. So the things that actually worked were one, conducting assessment hardly requires any effort. So if the system is already in place, you just have to generate a QR code and take it to the community collectives, their meetings, and circulate the QR code among them, and they will access the test. The other thing is the intuitive interface design. So we work with semi-literate literate rural women who are rural women who have simply used phones and all. So they are conversant with using smartphones, but they were very much at ease in taking the test and attempting all the questions. The third thing that worked was active community participation. So there was a sense of pride in the rural women while they attempted these tests. So basically, they used smartphone for other purposes, and this was a different use case. So they felt empowered. And the best thing was that when the result popped up on their screen just after submitting the test, they were really happy about that. And of course, there was some challenges also earlier. We had to educate members. So initially, they would scan the QR code with their Paytm or PhonePe apps. So that was the intention. So we educated them, and now I think they're pretty much comfortable with that. The fourth and the most important thing is that the structured insight that we generate from the tool, from the assessment. So it actually helped the government design evidence-based capacity building program. evidence-based capacity building planning at the disaggregated at the lowest level. So actually, we were helping the state build efficiency in the training budget allocation. So till now, we have conducted around 22,000 tests and reallocated around 20 crore of government budget on evidence-driven capacity building. Of course, with this result, government also changed its stance, and now they are pretty much positive about it, and they have integrated in their regular process. So now it is part of the SRLM process. It is embedded in their system, and before they make annual training calendar, they do full scale assessment through Sashakt, and based on the evidence, they design their annual training calendar. So going ahead, we are looking forward to using Sashakt not just for the pre and post training assessment, but also assessing the quality of trainings and eventually the trainers. So, and we are steadily working towards that. For NGOs, for the social sector, resources are never going to be enough. So the organizations that make the best use of available resources and adopt innovation will only have the edge. So any organization believes in innovation, in capacity building. If you believe in data, evidence, and scale, I think Sashakt is a really helpful tool for you. Thank you. If you have any questions, I can address.
Thanks a lot, Ujjwali. Yeah, we can open up for questions. If you have any questions, I think this is a good time to ask. After this, we'll have a product demo. I'm also launching a poll. We'll just wait for 30 to 40 seconds. If you could just quickly respond to this. It's well, like very short, 4 questions. It'll really help us gauge interest and also reach out to you later on. If there are any questions, please raise your hand or put it in the chat window. Yeah, Anil, you were asking about pricing. So that we'd mentioned in our communication also, if you want to use Sashakt as is right now, it's free for the first 6 months for you to use it, test it out, and see how it fits into your use case. If you want any thing which is very, very specific to your use case and you want customizations into the platform, then we can have a separate discussion on exactly what the customizations are and what a reasonable price for that would be. Yeah, Drija, I think.
Yeah, hi everyone. This is Adrija from K Education Foundation. I had a quick question on what Ujjwal was sharing. I think you mentioned that it also helped design evidence-based capacity building, right? Like, in which helped the government to then create an entire annual calendar and all of that. So I had a two-part question, but I think the first part is like basically, do we get to see the data on the tool itself? But I think if you do a product demo, we will get that understanding. But the second question that I had for Ujjwal was also that along with the tool, was there anything else that you all also had to do, like capacity building of the actors in the system or the department people to then take up the data or understand how to read the data and make decision? And how intuitive is that part? Like, I know you mentioned that the user interface is very intuitive, but how intuitive is using the data to make decisions?
So I think that's an interesting question. So we wanted to make sure that there is no additional burden or felt additional burden on the resources who will be actually using the tool to deploy the test. So for that to happen, what we have done is that one, at the DPM level, at the district level, basically tests are conducted at the district level. So The DPMs will only have to generate a QR code for the test, and all the test templates are already available there for them to access. So everything is managed at the state level itself. And then if DPMs want to conduct a separate test based on a specific training that they are conducting, they have got that right also. But in the back end, what we have done is that we have populated a tool with all the questions, with the topics, and with the roles who should be tested on those questions already available for DPMs to access. So that makes it very easy for DPMs to actually use the tool. When it comes to getting the data, so we have a dashboard, detailed dashboard, which captures data and visualizes it in a way that is very easy for anyone to simply go through it, see the report, and make decisions. So these are visual charts that we share with the state.
And the dashboard is part of the platform itself.
Yes, it has to be a part of it, and that is getting developed alongside. I mean, the product is already there, but dashboard is still, we are building that.
Understood. Thank you so much for answering.
But we have tested it, and earlier when we started this intervention, so we used Power BI to generate the dashboard that we wanted, and we have been sharing this from the last 2 years with the states, and state has found value in it, and they've also recommended NRLM to adopt this as a best practice.
Yeah. Thanks, Adrija, for the question. Sonal, yeah, you can please go ahead.
Hi, Ujjwal. The question I did see that in the beginning you mentioned that this app is not for collecting user data, but let's say it's a part of this network, this huge network of social workers, जिनके साथ हम काम कर रहे हैं. And yes, there are pre-post training assessments constantly on the capacity building initiatives that have been taken, but they're also a part of the network, right? So for them to be sent constant nudges or things like that, क्या वो उस संदर्भ में भी डेटा यूज नहीं हो पाएगा और to send them nudges or to kind of engage with them at our own level using your platform?
In order to send nudges to users, I think Glyphic or WhatsApp as a channel would be a better solution than Sashakt.
So the beauty of this thing is कि we are on Glyphic, and we're wanting to see if the integration between the Tech for Dev products via this platform and Glyphic and other couple of things can be also explored.
Okay. We can
Yeah.
connect separately. Kurunda, you were saying something?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point you made there, and definitely I think the Sashak will allow you to collect the participant data in a good manner. Like let's say in your case, you could collect the phone numbers and all, so that you have those data, and potentially then once there's some sort of integration with Glyphic, you should be able to send using Glyphic platform. So, but yes, so this is something that our eventual aim, I would say, but not that currently you could do it. But definitely, as Ashana said, we could connect
I'd love to explore
offline.
yes, absolutely love to explore a chat after this with you guys separately. Thank you.
Sure, Sonal would love to connect. Yeah, all right. I think we can go through the product demo and then we'll again stop for questions after that. So if there are any other questions, please feel free to put it on the chat or ask at the end also. I would invite Ninad to take us through the product demo now.
Thanks, Ashna. Thanks, Ujjwal, and thanks everyone for setting the context. It was quite insightful. Okay, so let me just share my screen. Okay, so basically now that we have understood about what Sashakt is and what problems it solves, so let's quickly take a look at the key components that cover the platform, and then we will do a deep dive into the product to see how it is working in a real world scenario. So basically everything starts with the admin.
admin creates and manages a centralized question bank where all the questions across subjects and format are stored and organized. From this question bank, we can create structured tests. These tests then get designed using templates and can be reused across programs and cohorts and districts. Each test comes with a QR code, and this QR code can be downloaded and can be shared with the candidates. And that's it. The candidate can then scan the QR code and access the link and enter the text interface and take the test. One thing to note here is that we can also label these questions and tests with tags and locations. This helps in organizing the test and by subject difficulty and making it and by filtering it for analysis and much more thing. In fact, for dashboards, this is a quite useful tool which will help you analyze your data. So having seen that, let us now see the product demo. Okay, if you can see in my screen, we can see a portal. This is a admin portal, and this is the portal where a admin will use all the configurations to make Sashakt possible for his organization. Now, for the sake of simplicity, let's imagine that we are working with an organization called as Indian School Development Foundation, which partners with schools across districts to improve teaching quality. Okay, now as a part of their program, they want to assess teachers, conduct training, and measure improvement over time. So now let's see how they can do this using Sashakt. Okay, now after logging in, this is the dashboard which you will see in front of you. So before I jump into creating questions and creating tests, it would be better for me to create those labels which I can put on those questions and tests. So for that, I can go to the tag management. In the tag management, I can create tags and labels which will help me filter and organize my questions and tests much more better way. So these are certain type of tags which I can create, which will help me segregate and make my program more better. Like I can create a tag called focus area, which will focus on subjects and domains, which will have certain labels like pedagogy, leadership, digital learning. I can also create tags based on the audience, who for whom the test is, the teacher, the district coordinator, the principals, and maybe even related to the program, like it can be a teacher development initiative, school transformation initiative, and so on. So after creating all this labeling and tags, I then go on to create the question banks. So in the question, we can see here there is a list of questions. This is like a central repository where all the questions are lying and they can be reused across various tests. Now, how do I create these questions? I can create these questions in two ways. I can create these questions single way by creating create question, or I can create them in bulk. So let us look at them one by one. So when I click on create question, I can create question of so many types. Like it can be single choice, it can be subjective, it can be numerical, it can be even some advanced like a match the following, which is called as matrix match or matrix number rating, so on. Once you choose a type, you can enter your question, you can enter additional instructions which you want to be seen along with the question. You can label that question which lots of tags, and you can label it by location, and you can enter options, marking scheme, and much more things. Once you create the question will come into the question bank. After that, you can create another question. If you don't want to create questions one by one, you can create them in bulk by clicking on the bulk upload. Here you can download a template which will like a file which will consist of some fixed headers and columns where you can enter all your data and you can drop your file and you can create questions in bulk. So in this way, we can create questions using the question bank. Now that all the questions are created, we can then proceed to create test. So when you create a test, you can create a test manually, and when you create a test manually, you can enter the primary information like the test name, the description, what tags you want associated with it, the location, etc. And then you can move to the next to select the questions. Here, one thing to note is that you can select the questions manually, depending on which questions you want, or you can even auto select them based on the various tags. So if I select a tag called hard, I will get 5 random questions which will have that label of tag of hard. Interesting, isn't it? This is, I think, something which makes Ashok apart from other tools too. Post that, you can enter a lot of other configuration for your test. You can select the start time and end time of the test. You can even enhance the candidate experience by selecting what retest guidelines are required, what completion message has to be shown, what language you want, what whether the OMR mode should be there or not, whether you want any form associated with your certificate, and many more things. There are a lot of rules, and the list goes on. So the flexibility of Sashak you can all can see in the type of configurations you can set for it. Now that we have a test is ready, it's time for the examination. This test, when it is created, will lie like a test or list of a test. You can easily download the QR code and that QR code you can share it across to the candidates. All the candidates can take out their phones, scan the QR code, and that's it. They can take a test. So shall we take a test? So for the sake of simplicity, I will take the test in this browser itself. You can choose to take the test in the mobile too. So here is the link which has now been scanned by the candidate. Now I'm giving one test for, say, I'm giving this test for teacher competency baseline assessment for Jharkhand. It's just an example. Now, when I land up on the test, I'm a random candidate and I'm seeing these questions and the questions per page. Once I go into this, I will see all the questions one by one. So as you can see here, there is a question here, which is, I think this question is of the MCQ type. Then there is one more question, which I think is a number type, and so on. So there are totally 8 questions, and you can use the palette to move around them. Smooth and this way. And then in this way, there are a lot of other types you can have. You have multi-choice questions, there are subjective questions, and so on. Once you're finished with the done, you can submit their test. And when you submit it, you get the result in front of you. How many are correct, incorrect, and what are the marks, and so on. That's how easy it is for a candidate to take a test. Now, along with this, we also offer some additional things. Maybe before the test, you would like to capture some additional information about the candidate, or maybe you would also like to give a certificate to the candidate. So for that, there is also something called as form management. Like if I take another test where there is a form attached to it. So as you can see, before the test starts, I'm shown one form. Here I can enter my related details, and I can continue with the test. And when I continue with the test, I can then attempt the test in the same particular manner, and so on. Once I finish the test, I can then download the certificate too. I'll just show you how the certificate tentatively looks like. Yeah, if you can see on my screen, this is one of the certificate which I had downloaded. And so this certificate is also something which is customizable, and you can design it as per your requirements. If you look at it, the name has been captured from the forms. So in this way, the form which comes before the candidate assessment can be used, the data from that can be used to put into the certificate. And you can just link such features. Yeah. So having said that, this is the way the entire dashboard is and the entire structure of it. So in nutshell, this is what Sashakt basically does. So post demo, let us also see how this tool has been used across the field. So Sashakt has been, as Ujjwal also rightly mentioned about you, that in this Sashakt has been used by Veddis Foundation in past few months. It has been used in Himachal Pradesh and Haryana, and you can see that around 217 assessments were conducted with Sashakt. Around 25,000 people have used Sashakt for giving assessments.
And then you will have to move to the next slide. We are still on the product demo.
Okay, yeah, I think it's a pause. So, okay, let me just resume. I'll just stop sharing and then I'll go back again. Just a moment. Can you now see the screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, but the screen sharing is paused here. Let me see what can be done.
Should I present the screen instead?
Yeah, that also works. Yeah. So yes, as I was mentioning that how we Sashakt is used in the field. So as I said, around 25,000 people assessments have been covered in using Sashakt. From this, you can just imagine how Sashakt has been implemented on large scale deployments. Along with this, we also collected some user feedback to get an idea of what is the sense or what people generally feel in the ground about Sashakt. And as you can see, around 77 to 80% of the candidates responded that they did not need any technical assistance while using Sashakt. Maybe it's because they found it intuitive, or maybe it's because the structure was simple. And also, like more than 90% said that their confidence increased while using Sashakt. Normally, using tech-savvy devices challenges someone's confidence, but maybe in this case, our users were very confident while using this tool. So yeah, and then now the big question is that how Shasha can be used it. So you can use it completely free for 6 months, and As we know, every organization has some of their own nuances, some use cases differs, and we are always open to her customization. Being an open source tool, we can always be ready to have a chat with you and see how we can customize to meet your requirements. You might even if you in case you feel like contacting us, you can contact me or Ashna, and you can mail us on this mail ID, or you can just chat with us. We are also there on Discord. So in Discord, we have a channel called Sashakt. It's an open channel, and any one of you can always visit us, chat with us, raise queries, and so on. We'll be happy to have a word with you. So, okay, having said that, so Ashna, should we open the floor for everyone?
Yeah. Please feel free to ask any questions now or drop your questions in the chat also.
Yeah, I think there are certain questions in the chat.
Yeah, Kurun has
Yeah,
replied.
I'll share the Discord link. Yeah, I think Kurun has shared the Discord link.
All right, we can wait for like 3-4 minutes if there are any questions. Please feel free to ask. Yeah, Priya, please go ahead.
I just wanted to check if you could take us through an example of the healthcare area where it was used. You mentioned for teacher training. For at Plus Trust, we have a community health entrepreneur program, and we see a possibility of using this for our health entrepreneur training. So, have you had? If you could share some details, it will help us understand. And another one, which you said 6 months free, but after that, how much? If you give us a ballpark figure that we can go with, it will help, because after 6 months, if we can't afford it, it will be difficult before adapting. And yeah.
Yeah, Priya. So basically, we are not, so it's not been used till now directly in the healthcare sector. It's been used with government officials by Veddis Foundation. But yeah, just because it has been tried and tested with the government officials, we feel like it will be replicable to other sectors also, like education and healthcare. Yeah, so that's on your first question. On the second one, we'd be open to discussion and we can have that discussion with you separately also. If you see the pricing across the other products that we have at Tech for Dev, it's really reasonable. And we've tried to keep them as affordable as possible because we are building open source technology for the social sector. But happy to have a discussion with you separately on that.
Sure. Thank you.
I'll just take one question from the chat.
Yeah.
So, okay, the question was like, how do we ensure the person taking the assessment is actually supposed to be taking it? So currently the system allows QR code based tracking. So basically, once the QR code is shared with particular set of people, those are the people who will be taking the test. However, the system also supports if we have any existing system like some other authentication system different. So in Avanti Fellows case, they have a fixed set of people. So they'll be redirecting from their platform to our platform. So in that case, you can control who would be taking the test and everything. So the registration will happen on the different platform. And once they come back to our platform, they'll be able to answer the test because all the validation happens in the existing platform. And the other question was, does it allow variable time for each question? Currently, no. It just the timing is for the entire test. There's no offline integration possible currently, mainly because the way the model works is we want to track a time-based thing, time-based assessment. So that's why there's no offline assessment currently support. API, yes, API integration will support. We do have a robust APIs, and it will allow you to integrate with your existing system. And the next question is analysis of data after assessment will be manual or system will do it automatically. I think it also does lot of things. I think it depends on what assessment you want to do. So what we currently do, we do integrate the data system, everything with the Looker Studio. So you should be able to do based on your need to basis in the Looker Studio based on the reports what you need.
So basically, you're talking about if we create this form will be automatically, or the responses will be automatically collected in the system and reflecting on the Luca Studio dashboard, something like that.
Yes. So basically, yes. Once we collect the data, it gets synced to the BigQuery system, and then it gets reflected in your Looker Studio. So Looker Studio will, you can then decide what kind of reports you are interested in. Like current use case, right? They wanted a report like how many people are answering on a particular date, or how many CLF has answered the assessment, given the assessment in a district. So those decisions were taken by them, like what are the relevant report for them, and based on that, it was then reports were created accordingly. Does that answer your question, Prajakta?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
I think we can go. Kedar has raised the hand.
Yeah, this is Kedar from Bhubaneswar. Actually, I am a social worker since long. I have been working with the communities. My question is the system does this software has that flexibility of designing the questionnaire for different kind of no target groups, like for children, for adolescent group, for maybe the women, maybe the farmers, and the set of questions will be different for different, and it is related to the purpose of the taking the assessment. So can it be customized according to that?
Yes, so the system allows you to define any of the questions, and then you can categorize them or tag them according to your use case. So in your case, you could say like, okay, these are the set of questions for children. These are the set of questions for adults. So then you can categorize them, and when you are creating a test, at that point you could then decide uh, these are the questions which are I want to create a test for children under certain, and use those specific tag or categories while we are doing it. So then you can create a custom test for each of those uh, constituents or which of those categories.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think we've answered most questions. If there are any further questions, please feel free to ask in the chat, or just reach out to us on these email IDs or the Discord link also that we've shared in the chat. We'll be happy to connect and answer your questions and see how we can work together. All right.